Okay, so to clarify, my English teacher isn't here today, I don't think. Mr. Koskinas? All right, well, thank you so much, Fraser, for the lovely introduction. Good evening to the class of 2015, parents and friends, teachers and faculty here tonight, and all the live viewers as well. Thanks for inviting me to be your guest speaker. It is a tremendous honor to be standing here just 6 years after I graduated. I seriously still remember the time I was sitting in those horrible blue chairs in the sports hall, not those nice, comfortable auditorium seats that you guys are at now. But I'd like to start by getting everybody in this room to give a massive round of applause to you guys, because 2 grueling years of IB. So I've spent months trying to figure out what to say to you, knowing that I have a chance to leave you with a few thoughts during a time where all you guys can think about is your parties tonight, your Koh Samui trip maybe, your IB results, NS, university, where you want to be. But in my short time from graduating from UWC, I feel like I've been through a lot of life-changing moments. However, you never actually realize they were life-changing until you look back in retrospect, which is what I've done for you today. And to quote Dr. Seuss, sometimes you will never know the value of something until it becomes a memory. So with that, I'd like to tell you 3 stories about moments that I'd never stopped to consider until days, months, or even years later. So my first story, here it goes. In a few months, many of you will be starting uni, NS, and gap years. In August 2009, I landed in Washington, D.C. with a massive smile, so excited to get started with my next chapter of life. But then I remembered, no one to nag me to wake up, no one to tell me to make my bed, and no one to tell me to finish my homework before I went out. Sorry, Mom, I think you're sitting in the corner. Sorry about that. On the flip side, I suddenly had to worry about doing laundry. I had to figure out how to cook. And I definitely had to figure out how to wake up on time for classes. So that was slightly hard, but the freedom was amazing. Being a proud UWC graduate, a global citizen, I did take one thing for granted, that I would fit in and immediately find my niche and adapt to life in another country easily. When I was roaming around the activities fair to find out which organizations to get involved with, I realized that aside from a sad realization that Americans have no idea what netball is, I also noticed that I didn't fit into any of the cultural organizations. I didn't fit in with the Indian students, with the Singaporean students, and although I sounded American, I'm not American. So I was in a fix. How do I fit into this wider community, yet maintain my own cultural identity? So that drive that UWC has instilled in me, and I know you as well, gave me an idea. Why don't I start my own organization? One for third culture kids, like you and I, who've grown up outside our parents' home countries. And introduce our TCK essence to the people around us. The beauty of being a UWC student is that you've all taught each other about your respective cultures, and you've also learned about everybody else around you. But you don't realize how that affects you when you go to university. After all, if I was getting questions like, hey, why is your English so good? And you're from Singapore? Oh, so you're from China. So that's exactly what I did. I started this organization. I saw it as a way to help my fellow TCKs fit in, but also to help us integrate in a way where we also taught others about our cultures. My new friends and I went on to make great changes. With the housing department to give a little more attention to international students, with the health department's counselors, within our own individual communities, and we even represented at national conferences. 4 years after starting this organization, I never imagined that I would have gained so much from these experiences, and breaking down those invisible barriers that we don't realize exist between us. So most of you are about to introduce yourself to new communities. You don't know them, and they don't know you. However, each and every one of you do know about being part of one of the most culturally diverse communities in the world. I'm pretty sure the only other place you'd find close to 80 nationalities might be at something like a UN Nobel Peace Prize ceremony. So help others break down those invisible barriers that exist between you and them, because I know you guys are equipped to do that. Introduce yourself, make the first move, be brave, start a community. Educate others, but make sure you learn from them too. People matter. The friends and acquaintances you make at university last a lifetime, and they make or break your experience as well. Academics are extremely important, but the experiences you have outside the classroom are also just as important. So use the values and etiquette that being part of the UWC community has instilled in you to make a difference, knowing that you embark into that next chapter of your life. So I challenge you to meet others at their comfort level and not stick to yours. Now, for my second story. Unlike those of you who've already chosen your field of study, I know you have to do that for the UK, I actually had the freedom of choosing my major a year after I started university. I took classes ranging from psychology to music to French to history, and I still had no idea what I wanted to major in. There's just too much to learn. So I was a week away from the deadline for choosing my major. Talk about procrastination. And after speaking to professors and students, I finally decided that I would choose foreign affairs and French. When I was in UWC, I thought I was going to do economics, but guess that didn't actually work out. So I combined my interests all together: history, French, English, literature, and figured out what I wanted to study, not really considering what the future had in store for me. But I also made sure to keep learning about being a third culture kid, just so that I wouldn't lose that essence. But both my majors and minors had one thing in common: knowing how to write. A decent paper, both in English and in French. But little did I realize, my writing was improving. Gone were the days of higher level English, where you spend weeks and weeks or even months working on a single paper. And here I was, writing 6 to 7 papers per week for different classes. So after graduating, I decided to keep up my writing skills by starting a blog. I didn't really think about the fact that it would come in handy, but I thought to myself, why not? Let's make it a core skill. May as well keep it polished, right? But that turned out to be one of the best decisions ever. And like I said in my introduction, you don't realize these things come in handy until much later. So don't underestimate what your skills are. If you're good at something, keep working at it, whether or not you think it's important. You'd be surprised what could happen. But that being said, also work on what you're bad at, because being bad at something doesn't mean you give up. It means you work twice as hard. And for my final story. My first real-world job experience after graduating in 2013 was to intern for a startup called Billion Dollar Boy. It was started by 3 alumni, obviously male, from my university. And they gave me the chance to start doing something I'd never considered a profession for me: writing. I was writing articles for Dead Curious, an online magazine, and I didn't realize how much I actually enjoyed it. This realization would be pretty important for what's about to come next. A few months after I sent out more job applications than I care to admit, I was faced with one of the most important decisions that would impact my entire life. I had a job offer with a large company where I would have stability. But the day I went to sign that contract, a startup that I had interviewed with offered me a job, with my role focused on something I actually enjoyed: writing and the more creative sides of business. So what next? Which offer was I going to choose? The corporate job with stability, or the riskier startup, where I had no clue what was about to happen? So, although it seems like an easy choice, it really wasn't. Long story short, my gut told me to join the startup. So I did. And my actions are reflected by something that one of my role models, Adam Braun, He's the founder of Pencils for Promise. He said this in his book. In moments of uncertainty, when you must choose between two paths, allowing yourself to be overcome by either the fear of failure or the dimly lit light of possibility, immerse yourself in the life you would be most proud to live. So exactly a year and a half later, I stand here speaking to you, thinking about the past year and a half and what a roller coaster ride it has been for me professionally and personally. My takeaway this time is something that most of you have already heard, but will truly experience in your next stages. You will start to learn about yourself and go through a period of self-discovery only once you leave your comfort zone. If you haven't already, there will come a point in the next few years where you will be asking yourself questions. And so don't be afraid to ask yourself these questions. Who am I? Who do I want to be? What do I want to study? Will I be successful? What do I define as success? If the answer doesn't come to you immediately, don't fret. Have courage, and know that others around you are going through it too, even if it may not seem like it. These thoughts and questions and the constant reevaluation of them will help you make the tough decisions that you face. They will help you find the path that you are most proud of taking. So in summary, my 3 points again. Number 1, as a UWC graduate, use the values and skills that have become a part of your core being to make a difference not only in your future, but the future of your peers around you. Number 2, don't underestimate yourself. Keep working hard on your core skills and work twice as hard on your weaknesses. Number 3, don't be afraid of making tough decisions. Have courage to ask yourself the hard questions and find that path that you are most proud of taking. It isn't easy to ignore expectations set by others, but something I've learned, and I'm still learning and battling with every day, is that you need to know when to set your own expectations and fulfill your own dreams. So I challenge you to become the person that you want to be, and I leave you with this question. In 5 or 6 years, imagine that you've just walked into a big party, a party that has been thrown in your honor with everybody that you know around you. What are they celebrating, and what is your big success? Thank you for having me this afternoon, and congratulations to every single one of you.